All right, this is the follow up, and today we are following up on a live video I did a couple months ago in 2020, which was entitled The Best Seat in the House, playing bass behind singers. My guest today on the follow up is the wonderful Lynn Keller. Lynn, thank you so much for making yourself available, and welcome to the follow up.
Great to be here, George. Thanks for inviting me.
Of course, my pleasure, of course. So, for those listening, for those watching, Uh, in the follow up, I try to present different perspectives on topics that I already previously talked about in the live videos. And with this particular topic, I
Mhm.
thought Lynn would be a great guest because she is a bass player and has a distinguished career playing with lots of singers and playing behind lots of singers. Most notable, perhaps, many year long stint with Diana Ross. So, Lynn, let's just get into it. It is maybe I should give you a little bit of analysis before I ask you a question.
Sure.
My sort of feeling with playing behind singers is that, there is, you're basically following somebody else's dynamic lead, right?
Mhm.
And for me, that made it very, very interesting, very exciting because at the drop of a hat, you have to follow where the singer is going, and the singer
Right.
can, with the voice being our first instrument, so to speak,
Mhm.
can express themselves in a multitude of ways.
Right.
I was wondering how is it for you playing behind singers? What are some of the points of focus, so to speak? Is it something that is a forte for you? Is it something that you seek out? What are your thoughts about all this?
The answer is to yes, across the board. Uh,
See?
it is a forte to me, and
Yes.
it is something I seek out. To me, there's nothing more magical than a great voice,
Right.
and that feeds my spirit and feeds my soul.
Yeah.
As much as I do love instrumental music and I write instrumental music,
Yeah.
I love great voices.
Yeah.
So I find that playing behind vocalists just lights the fire of inspiration.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
I absolutely love it. And I've worked with some amazing, amazing vocalists over the
Right,
years.
right. So, talking about vocalists, like
Yeah.
there is your long time stint with Diana Ross, right?
Right, right,
And with her having all that history with Motown, having recorded with Jameson himself,
right.
um, and then having you on the bass with her, was there some sort of specific communication that came from her being a singer, having had that experience with Jameson, that she wanted something in specific, from you? Was that ever discussed?
No,
Oh,
no.
okay.
I mean, I have to say that on that gig, I had a lot of free space.
Okay.
And most of the gigs I've done, I've had a
Right,
lot of free space. I've been really lucky to work with a lot of artists that were respectful for the most
right,
part
right, right,
and let me do what I do.
right.
And Diana wasn't specific about
Mm,
a lot of that stuff, but there were confines. I mean,
right,
um, you know, I wasn't going to play something completely different than what she was used to or needed to hear.
right, right, right,
But
right.
she never said to me, Jamerson played this and you haven't. And
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
mean, she was never that way.
Right, right,
Yeah,
right, right, right.
yeah,
Perhaps it, as long as it felt right, maybe that was something that she responded to,
right.
um, and it kind of brings me to my next point when it comes to playing with singers. The it needs to feel right, like perhaps more than the actual notes being presented or whatever. It needs to feel right, and that
Right.
is something that I find is incredibly on the one hand on the one side it's very, very precise and very it's a very precise need, and
Yeah.
then on the other hand it's also something that's almost ambiguous to catch, right?
Right. Right.
So I was wondering, is there something that comes to your mind when comparing perhaps playing behind vocals, also behind singers, and playing instrumental music, keeping in mind
Right.
these tricky
Well,
nuances that we're trying
there's
to catch.
there's one vocalist
Mm.
that I worked with for many, many, many years, and I was
Mhm.
music director on that gig for a lot of those years.
And who's that?
And she would Rita Coolidge.
Rita Coolidge, yeah.
So stylistically, she would back phrase
Right.
and she would sing really far back.
Mm.
And that was her comfort zone.
Right. Right.
However, the band couldn't sit back with her there because the music would not go anywhere.
Right. Right.
So it was definitely an exercise in playing the music where the music moves forward, but giving her that space where she can express herself in her comfort zone.
Right. Right. Right.
And that took a while to learn and get a grip on. And I will say that we had a band family, so we
Right.
weren't going through players on a regular basis. Uh, I was with her for about 14 years,
Oh
and
wow. Yeah.
so we knew how to accompany her appropriately.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
that's a thing that you have to learn. Hopefully the vocalists will let you know what they need, what
Mm.
they're not getting.
Right. Right.
I
Right.
think a thing with Diana Ross was when I was on the gig with her, I think there was every once in a while she and I would really talk.
Right.
And she would be honest with me. And
Mm.
a couple of times she said that she was really insecure because
Mm.
she didn't speak musician language.
Right.
And I would say to her, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Because however you express what you need, we listen, we pay attention,
Yeah.
and move accordingly.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. Yeah.
and a lot of vocalists, may not be trained the way some instrumentalists might be. So there's the difficulty in expressing certain things. And I
Mm.
think that's a lot of the reason I've been hired on certain gigs is that I can take that and express to the band, oh, we need to do this or this. And it was
Mm.
that way definitely when I music directed for Nell Carter.
Right. Right.
And
Right.
and now when I was with Olita Adams, she was
Mm.
great about saying what she needed, and she also was a great player. She's a
Mm.
great keyboard player.
Yeah, she's quite an accomplished
Yeah,
instrumentalist,
yeah,
all by itself. I mean, definitely. Yeah, yeah,
right,
yeah.
right.
It's an interesting subject because there is very much the old school belief of okay, there are singers and then there are musicians, whereas
Mhm.
there is very much also the perhaps more updated version of that. We're all musicians.
Yeah,
Some might just
mhm.
sing or might just use the voice as an instrument.
Right,
Others
right.
have to deal with strings or reeds or whatever it might be.
Right.
Um, there was one thing that struck me as interesting when doing the video, the live video, was that first of all the why am I drawn to voices, right? To the human voice, and perhaps it being the first instrument that we sort of have to deal with. But then there's also the heartbeat, which is the first rhythm that we
Right,
perceive one way or
right,
the other, right?
right,
But then it's this direct communication of emotional content
right.
that you know deals with nuanced dynamics and basically what I as a bass player am used to playing instrumental music is leading the band in
Yeah.
dynamics, right? And
Hmm.
in this case, I'm giving up the reins, right? I'm
Right.
I'm not doing that anymore. And I was wondering if that is something that you had in your experience that had perhaps that you have experienced as well. This giving up the reins and being able to follow, being able to react at a moment's notice on
Right.
where the singer is going.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Absolutely. I mean,
yeah.
I've played with many singers, some who have on the moment just said, break it down,
Right, right,
oh, Okay, we're going there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Or, or listen to me, we're changing it up.
Mm,
And that's cool.
right.
So you just let go, and wherever they want to lead, it's a great experience,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Most definitely.
Yeah.
Most
Yeah.
definitely.
So I have experienced that many, many times. Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I totally get that. There's this you know, I was kind of comparing it to being having to be really fast and having your reactions be really fast,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And that I thought was is it's just an
Well,
interesting.
and you have to, if your, vocalist s- skips a verse
Yeah,
accidentally,
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah, yeah.
come on, and you got to be aware, and you've got to move with them. They say the
Mm,
vocalist is always right.
right,
Don't
of
follow
course,
the vocalist.
of
So
course, of course.
you always have to have your ears on,
Mm, mm.
and pay attention to where they're going and what they're doing, because
Oh,
you never
fascinating.
know.
Yeah, yeah, most definitely. Um, there's perhaps one more thing that I wanted to sort of propose as a thought, and that is the possibility of being able to, or the ability, I should say, of seeing the bigger picture.
Mhm.
And like that thought, does that ever come to play when playing behind a singer? Being able to see the bigger picture, being able to have a clearer understanding of, okay, well, this is my spot sonically, this is my spot musically, this is what I need to do as a bass player. But then the bigger picture is that I need to I need to support. That's the word I was looking for. I need to support whatever is happening out there. Is that something that ever comes to your mind
It does.
when, okay,
It definitely does come to my mind. It is a bigger realm than just these notes and this is what I'm playing.
right,
You
right,
know,
right, right,
it's
right,
um it's making sure that the vocalist, I've had situations where vocalists are having trouble vocal problems, and
right,
all of a sudden you become aware of there's something larger than this.
right,
The band needs to come down,
right,
or their mic has gone out.
right, right.
Things like that. are
Yeah,
we
yeah, yeah.
are we too loud for the room?
Hmm.
Is
Of
the
course.
band too loud for the room? All of a sudden you notice, I don't think the singer can be heard, or
Mm.
whatever. So there is a bigger picture,
Right, right,
um,
right, right,
in
right,
that
right, right.
setting, yeah.
Oh,
And part of that is a music director role,
yeah,
not
of course.
just a bass player backing a singer role.
Right, right,
I've
right.
always kind of taken on the music director role for one reason or another.
Mm, mm.
It just sort of followed me in my life.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm kind of used to looking out for the whole.
Do you feel like bass players make good music directors?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah,
I would say so.
yeah,
I would
yeah,
say
yeah,
so.
yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah. This
Yeah.
is it. This I've read this Marcus Miller interview where he was talking about talking to bass players about a certain gig, and they will very quickly point out what the other instruments are doing.
Right.
Therefore, so we already have radar vision
Yeah.
and radar ears and whatnot.
Right. Right. Right.
Fascinating. Now let me just one last thing, and that is pertaining to you specifically. Having played with all these artists, having had to learn Jameson's lines, Francisco Centeno's lines. I mean, Pino Palladino's lines with Olida Adams. Hello,
Sure.
it could not have been easy. How do you do it? How do you juggle all of that?
Well, I was with Olita before that time frame,
Oh wow.
before Tears for Fears
Mm.
found her.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
So
Okay.
I played with her in 1986.
Check that out.
So, but like I said before, in terms of having free space, which I've
Mm.
had, I mean, yes, the Jamerson lines are what the lines are for Diana's stuff. I mean, interestingly enough, before I got on that gig, I was doing a gig. They were called the Supremes Forever Show.
Oh wow.
So it was, a casino thing, and they did this Supreme show. So I got really, really, really familiar with that music.
Mm.
And then 1990, I got called to audition for Diana.
Right.
So it's like that music was just right there.
Right. Right.
That's kind of how that happened in that way. You know, it was very organic, really.
Mm. Fascinating. That's that's how it happens. It
Yeah,
makes a lot of sense to me. Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. That is great stuff. There is one, and I'm not going to keep you too long, but one thing just came to my mind, and that is, how does all of this tie in with the musical theater work that you're doing now? Like this, because you are playing behind singers in the musical theater realm as well.
Exactly.
And I thought, like, from just from my experience, that was always a big, at the beginning of it, that was a big plus. I wanted to play
Right,
behind singers, right?
right.
So I was wondering if there are any tie-ins. Is there anything that's sort of influenced from the freelance world into this musical theater world in regards to playing behind singers?
You know, the same thing that I said was the most professional elements of music
Mm,
theater, which was attitude, consistency.
yeah.
And that started a million years ago for me.
Right.
So, playing with vocalists and whatnot, there was a level of expectation, a level of excellence that I've always sought to achieve.
Mm,
So, when all that happened in my career a million years ago, when I was
mm.
touring with all these artists and whatnot, it just transferred over because I wouldn't come to musical theater and do anything less.
Right. Right. Of course. Of
You
course.
know, I think the difference is, oh, this is all written out very specifically.
Right.
A lot of vocalists, you know, there's a lot of space to do what you want. I've been lucky in theater to
Mm,
be given the opportunity, especially with Alan Menken, to do my thing. And
right.
actually, even on School of Rock,
Yeah.
I had a lot of room to kind of be me,
Mm.
was really nice. And I know you've had that experience
Oh
too.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Totally. Yeah.
you know, so to have composers that let you express yourself,
Yeah.
it's a real blessing.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
real
Yeah.
blessing. So I would just say the things that I did in my other gig life
Right. Right.
really just transferred very naturally to music
Mm.
theater.
That is that
And the
is
fact that I could read.
yeah.
So I was very able to focus and read and be consistent
Right.
in
Right.
theater. That's what I expected of myself.
Right. 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 Most definitely. No. No.
Yeah.
Listen, Lynn Keller, this is an awesome conversation, and thank you so much for making yourself available once again.
Well, to
Um.
be with you, George, you are one of my all-time favorites. I mean, the
Oh.
first time I heard you play, I felt like I melted in my seat listening to you.
Oh
And
wow.
I
Thank you.
remember the first time I met you, and it was so monumental for me,
Mm.
so poignant.
Oh wow.
I have
This
such respect and admiration for what you do and what you bring.
I really appreciate that. That's very kind of you to say. That means the world to me coming from you. This really
Ah,
that's deep. That's very deep. So, Lynn Keller, once again, thank you so much for being here today on the follow up. And stay safe out there. Stay sane out there. It's it's a new day.
new day.
Thank God.
Yeah, right.
But we got work to do. So
Yes.
that's just where we at right now. Anyway, thank you again.
Thank you so much, George.
You got it. All right.